Hi, everybody. I'm in my happy place, Mackin Park, in Millardville, neighborhood of Coquitlam, British Columbia. It's the largest Francophone population west of Winnipeg in Canada. And so today's September 6, 2024, and I've been posting these videos as to document my recovery journey of watching my little brother, my beloved little brother, 65-year-old brother, Paul Kierans, be locked up by the BC New Democratic Party government for 588 days with no in-person visits by me. I was his last surviving family member in Greater Vancouver. I had cared for him at my home 1 or 2 weekends a month for 10 years. I had taken him to Newfoundland twice, to Seattle, to the PNE every year. And when I discovered that his group home, L'Arche, L'Arche, founded by two SEX predators, Jean Vanier, Jeanvanier, and defrocked, excommunicated Catholic priest Thomas Philippe from France, when I discovered that their group home had created fraudulent and forged power of attorney called a representation agreement granting all of Paul's human rights to my 81-year-old Catholic nun sister 4,000 kilometers away in Ontario, with whom he's never lived. She's 16 years older than him. She left home shortly after he was born. And she didn't understand his speech or communication. When I discovered that they had done that so they could give Paul the experimental COVID-19 shot, I complained, and they terminated my visits with him. Initially, they reinstated my visits with him for 6 months, and then on September 12th of 2022, I got a letter from their lawyer, Tara Britnell, in Surrey, permanently terminating all of our in-person contact, and except for a 10-minute telephone call once a week. And Paul begged and pleaded with me to visit him. He asked me to take him to a movie. He repeatedly told me he loved me. It was torture. It was a form of torture for both of us. He's my last surviving family member too. So we're all that that each other had. I was very bonded. I taught Paul to print the only word that he could ever read or print, his first name, Paul. So, and I knew the document was a forgery, and he was too low functioning to be able to appoint substitute decision maker. And if he had, he would never in 100 million years have appointed that nun to be his decision maker. So I've been posting these videos, and I'm trying to get the law changed in Canada so that substitute decision makers, conservators, representatives, guardians are not permitted to isolate and confine incapable adults away from their other loved ones. This is based on the law in the United States called Peter Falk's Law. Peter Falk was the actor who starred in the Columbo detective series, who had a stroke in his 70s, and his second wife wouldn't permit his adult children to visit him. So they started the Peter Falk Foundation to reform adult guardianship laws across the United States, and they changed the law in 22 states so that guardians of incapable adults are not permitted to isolate and confine. I had posted a X post on formerly Twitter, now X, criticizing the acting premier of British Columbia, David Eby, and he or somebody at his request posted a defamatory note in response, saying that I had that several family members said that I had a disruptive effect on Paul. Well, the disruptive effect was I objected to the fraudulent and forged representation agreement. And when I complained to the Burnaby police, they went to L'Arche to the group home, and they advised them that I'd complained, and that's when the group home lawyer, Tara Britnell, Britell, terminated permanently our visits, our contact, and that resulted, Paul was retired at that point, so that resulted in him being isolated and confined to his room at L'Arche. So he was locked up for 588 days, and we missed 173 scheduled visits. I had a written agreement with L'Arche that I could visit Paul twice a week, once at the group home and once at my home. So I'm trying to recover. I've run out of money to pay. My family doctor referred me to a trauma counselor, and I've run out of money to pay the trauma counselor. So I'm just trying to recover as best I can. And part of my treatment is posting these videos. But I've got very exciting news today that as part of all of trying to get help dealing with Paul's, this mistreatment of Paul, I contacted the National Down Syndrome Society in the United States, and I submitted a photo of him. They're having a buddy walk tomorrow in New York City to raise funds for people with Down syndrome. Paul had Down syndrome. He was profoundly disabled by Down syndrome. He never functioned above the level of a 15-month-old infant. But he was a wonderful person, wonderful, innocent, lovable. Nothing he said was ever wrong. He never said a lie in his life. You always knew whatever he said, there was some truth to it. But anyway, so they're having a huge celebration in New York City tomorrow. And they are going to be projecting on the Jumbotron in Times Square, which is like hundreds of feet high, photos of people with Down syndrome. And I had submitted a photo of Paul, and they wrote me back and they said, "Is this a posthumous photo after he's died?" I said, "Yes." And they said, "Okay." And so Paul's photo is going to be projected in Times Square between 6:50 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. On there's going to be a link on the National Down Syndrome Society website, which I've posted on my Facebook page. So you just need to click on that link, and you can see the video of the projection of these photos in Times Square, and it'll be starting at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow. And Paul's photo will be projected from 6:50 a.m. to 7 a.m. So I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how clear it's going to be, but I've posted the link to the National Down Syndrome Society's website on my Facebook page. So that I'm so excited about this. It's just a wonderful. I mean, I've never met anybody who's been famous enough to have their photo projected on the Jumbotron in Times Square. I've been to Times Square. I've seen the Jumbotron, and it's quite astounding. So Paul's photo will be about 100 feet high. So that's it for today. Paul, I miss you so much. I'm doing everything I can to try and get justice for you, Paul. I believe that you were unlawfully confined against your will, which is a breach of the Canadian Criminal Code, Section 279, Sub 2, that you were locked up unlawfully and that you were killed unlawfully. That I believe my sister, the nun, directed the Burnaby Hospital staff to sedate Paul to death because he appeared to me to be recovering. He showed every sign of recovering. He had grabbed a book from my hand, turned the pages, and then when my sister discovered that the Burnaby RCMP had reopened the investigation into the fraudulent and forged power of attorney, within an hour, Paul was dead. He had all his medical supports removed. His ventilator was removed. The catheter was removed. His intravenous was removed, and he was dead. I believe he was sedated to death. And that's, the fact that my little brother was murdered in front of my very eyes. I mean, I could see what was happening. I know him as well as I know anybody on earth, and I could see that he was being killed, and there was not a thing I could do about it. I felt so helpless, and I want to change the world so that no other family member is ever subjected to such a horrific scene. I don't know if you could imagine watching a beloved family member being killed before your very eyes, and there's nothing you can do to help. So that's it for today. Paul, I miss you so much. It's a beautiful hot fall day here in Coquitlam. We could have had so much fun. I'm sorry that we missed the PNE, the Pacific National Exhibition, but your photo is going to be on the Jumbotron in Times Square tomorrow at 6:50 a.m., dear.